Welcome back to the AI Breakdown Brief, all the AI headline news you need in around 5 minutes. Yesterday, everyone started talking about a new model from Microsoft Research called VASA-1. Bindu Reddy summed it up this way. She called it the first AI-generated video that looks super real, and said it takes a single portrait photo and speech audio and produces a hyper-realistic talking face video with precise lip-sync audio, lifelike facial behavior, and naturalistic head movements generated in real time. This is amazing given that the AI-generated video looks very real. So for those of you who are watching this rather than listening to it, let's check out a quick example.
Maybe you're in that place right now where you want to turn your life around, and you know somewhere deep in your soul there could be some decision.
It really is incredibly lifelike. And indeed, that's the way that they describe it in their research paper. The paper is called VASA-1, Lifelike Audio-Driven Talking Faces Generated in Real Time. TLDR, they write, single portrait photo plus speech audio equals hyper-realistic talking face video with precise lip-sync audio, lifelike facial behavior, and naturalistic head movements generated in real time. In the abstract, they write, the model is capable of not only producing lip movements that are exquisitely synchronized with the audio, but also capturing a large spectrum of facial nuances and natural head motions that contribute to the perception of authenticity and liveness. The core innovations, they say, include a holistic facial dynamics and head movement generation model that works in a face-latent space, and the development of such an expressive and disentangled face-latent space using videos. Part of what they're so excited about is that the model not only delivers realistic, lifelike videos, but supports, as they write, 512 by 512 videos at up to 40 frames per second with negligible starting latency. What that means is that conceivably we're not too far away, not only from lifelike AI-generated videos, but from actually being able to interact with these lifelike avatars in real time. Now, in addition to producing just lifelike videos from real photos, they say that their method also has the ability to handle photo and audio inputs that are out of their training distribution. For example, they can handle illustrations or paintings, singing audio, or non-English speech, none of which were present in the training set. Again, for those of you watching, here's an example of that lack of latency, which makes it opportune for real time.
But you know what I decided to do? I decided to focus all my attention, all my time on listening. So instead of doing something else, I just listened, and listened. Because I'm a true believer that if you're really bad at something.
Now, the paper points out that this is not a technology without risk. The closer we get to truly lifelike and especially real-time generation like this, the greater the chance that it's misused for disinformation or misinformation, for impersonating people without their permission. And at this time, they write, we have no plans to release an online demo, API product, additional implementation details, or any related offerings until we are certain that the technology will be used responsibly and in accordance with proper regulations. And ultimately, the biggest caveat or asterisk on any of this is that none of us have actually gotten a chance to play with it. This is just a paper with cherry-picked examples that, while super impressive, theoretically might not represent the standard output that you would get if everyone was allowed to use this. Still, it does seem like a fairly significant jump in this sort of avatar capacity, and so is very much something to be watching for in the future. Next up, we get an update from OpenAI. The company has released a new version of its Assistance API. Now, the Assistance API is OpenAI's tool that allows people to build agent-like assistants that have some specific purpose that they use ChatGPT for. One of the big changes is, as Brian Romley writes, the new OpenAI Assistance API can access up to 10,000 documents in a vector database RAG. It's quite useful, and I have already mentioned it to clients that need larger scale RAGs. Sully Omar from Cognosis says, new OpenAI Assistant updates are really good, hard to bet against them. Tested retrieval, and it's insanely fast and almost instant. Seems like they want a piece of the RAG pie as well. At what point does it become cheaper to use them versus building your own? For those of you drowning in acronyms, RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, and basically refers to the idea of an LLM pulling from a specific set of information for some specific purpose. This is a popular strategy right now for example, enterprises that want some version of an LLM to be able to pull from their proprietary information in order to give people in the company insight that is specific to the company. There are tons and tons of solutions for how an enterprise might go about that, and Sully's pointing out that the better that OpenAI and ChatGPT get at it, the more incentive that companies have just to stay in that ecosystem. Of course, ultimately, it's not just a question of technical capacity, but a question of data trust. And my perception is, at least, that the biggest reason that enterprises are choosing not OpenAI to spin up their own models, to customize open source models, is because of those concerns around privacy. Still, like Sully says, the fact that this is an easy and fast approach that works really well could shift the balance of that conversation a little bit. Lastly today, an interesting one from the world of entertainment. There's been a lot of discourse in the entertainment sector and in Hollywood about artificial intelligence. Last year, the writer's strike and the SAG strike were some of the first instances in which concerns around AI really started to get into the mainstream. My question at the time was not so much if the concerns were real or not, but whether, if the choice was on the one hand try to ban or prohibit all this technology, or on the other try to profit from it, how long would it take before Hollywood shifted over to the try to profit from it side? Apparently, the creative artist agency CAA, one of the big Hollywood talent agencies, is thinking in a similar way and testing a new program called CAA Vault that allows the talent they represent, or at least a small handful of A-listers that are testing it, to create a digital double of themselves that they can profit from. Said Alexandra Shannon, CAA's head of corporate strategic development, on one hand, there's concerns that technology is being misused to exploit name, image, likeness, voice, body of work without consent. But we also recognize that it's creating opportunities for talent and an explosion of creativity in so many different ways. Shannon said, "These technologies should not devalue the human. If somebody's digital likeness is being used in a campaign instead of them in person, it is still the value of that person and what they stand for as a representative of a brand." Of course, the concern that many have is that if the marginal cost of production comes down, and there is a much larger supply of celebrity spokespeople in the form of these digital doubles, what will that actually do to the value of any individual instance of that? It seems like a pretty price deflationary force. Of course, the Brad Pitt brand, for example, is going to continue to retain value, but if there are digital Brad Pitts running around everywhere, how much each individual instance of that is going to be able to charge? Ultimately, those are questions for CAA, not for us, and so that is going to do it for the AI Breakdown Brief. Next up, the main AI breakdown.